Shrapnel.
Wagwan, everyone, and welcome to Film Shrapnel, your number one spot for everything movies. My name's Tobias, and this is my co-anchor and partner in crime, Craig Britton. Hello, Craig.
Hey, Tobias Saltman, how's it going?
Doing okay, except for the fact that we're about to talk about a terrible film.
Yeah, it's been a bit punishing, this, hasn't it? I mean,
this month has been rough.
Yeah. I think we kind of both like Troll 2 a lot. You hated Plan 9, and now we're watching arguably the worst ever fucking film, fucking Battlefield Earth. This film... Oh, where the fuck do we start? I've got some trivia for you. Would you like to hear it before we get deep into it? It's a lot of random shit, I can tell you.
Okay, give me some trivia. Fine.
I'll start off with some reviews that I read from Wikipedia. The first one is from Roger Ebert, who described this movie like taking a bus with someone who needed a bath for a long time. And then there's... and then there's a comedian, Jon Stewart, who hosted The Daily Show. I'm not sure if that's still on TV. Who described it as a cross between Star Wars and the smell of arse, which I also thought was
the smell
great.
of arse.
Yeah,
an arse smell. Well, it's bad.
It's very
bad. It is bad.
So many of my notes for this film. So many of my notes start with "what the fuck" and then something like "what the fuck is that? What the fuck is this? What the fuck is?" I don't even know where to start.
I think that the film definitely has, like, it's a high concept idea, and if you did it properly, you might have actually had something. But as it stands, it's just not good. Like, really not good. And there's no excuse because you've got good actors as well. So there's really no excuse as to why everything's so shit. Like John Travolta, we know he can act. We know he can do it. So what happened?
I don't know. Like, his acting is so bad in this film. Like,
it's weird. We all know Forest Whitaker's an amazing actor. Like, there's no point in arguing that he is fucking amazing. What happened there?
Why is he in this movie? I don't understand how he got involved. And I think I was actually looking for info, like if he had anything to say about this film. But I think he's been very quiet about it and just tried to move on very quickly. But for John Travolta, it's not been so easy to distance himself from this film because he's also a producer and he also put a ton of his own money in this film as well.
I was going to say, this is like a passion project of his.
Yeah.
So, like, he's very much tied to this. Like, there is no movie without him. And it is so bad. And you can tell that he probably thinks this is going to be his Star Wars. They end it in such a way that the Travolta character's still knocking about, you know. So if you did sequels to it, you know, he could have been like the Vader kind of character of this universe, this Darth Vader-esque kind of bad guy.
Well, that's interesting you say that because apparently this was supposed to be part 1 of 2. There was going to be a second film. Well, so that was definitely on the table, but it was so bad that it just didn't happen. But also there was some fraud shit happened around this film as well. So the guys who... so there's one company called Franchise Pictures which took up the film because no one would touch it. Because everyone's like, it's Scientology related. No, thank you. So it was really hard for Travolta to get it made. And these guys, Franchise Pictures, they overstated something, like how much money was invested. And so the people who invested in it paid a lot more than they should have. And there was a big fraud case. And I think this company was was closed or whatever because of that. So like, it was like, no way there was ever going to be a second film. Which is good, actually. Good because I don't think they would have learned anything from the mistakes of this film, which there are plenty of.
I mean, you bring up the like when they heard that Scientology was part of it, they were like, no, we don't want to put money into this.
Yeah, and actually, you know what else I'll say? There's actually not really anything about Scientology in it. I mean, like, not
No,
overtly.
it just seems to be a sci-fi film based on the work of N. Ron Hubbard.
Basically, yeah, that's it really. Um, but yeah, they're like, so we could talk about the plot being terrible, but there is so much more going on in this film than just a
I mean,
plot. Like,
I don't really know what the plot was. Gold. We want gold. We
yeah,
need
why do aliens
gold.
want gold?
Yeah, I don't know. Some weird thing. The Scientology, they believe that, don't they? That aliens need gold to like clean their atmosphere or some shit. But they need
Oh, I
gold.
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's something along those lines. But I'll tell you this. So, like, I mean, I think it'd be very easy to regurgitate criticisms I've heard of Battlefield Earth over the years. So I'm going to try and avoid saying anything I've heard elsewhere. But one thing I do need to point out that I think we all, it's like the elephant in the room. Everyone's commented on it. I feel like I need to comment on it. This film really is totally filmed in Dutch angles. Like I've heard people make jokes about it, but like after seeing it for myself, you're like, oh my god, it really is like every fucking shot, like is
Yeah,
in Dutch angle, and it really is disorientating. Like you don't get a really clear sense of space at any point in the film.
it's really disorientating. I wasn't
Mm,
expecting it to be that much. I thought like
yeah,
they used it a bit, maybe more than most people would, but it's like
no,
really
it's
every fucking shot
and
almost.
not only is it every shot, but it's like a really pronounced angle as well, like a very like it's more of a Dutch angle than most Dutch angles.
Yeah, so I've got some notes on that as well. So Roger Ebert, he wrote the director Roger Christian, who by the way worked on Star Wars and Alien,
Interesting,
has
because I
has
will say this does feel very like even with the transitional
yeah,
effects between shots, it feels very Star Wars.
yeah. And so, like Ebert said, he has learned from better films that directors sometimes tilt their cameras, but he has not learned why, which
Right?
is very
Yeah.
true. And there was another note I have somewhere, I can't see it, but I think it was apparently the reason he did this, and also the coloring involved as well, is to give it more of a comic book feel. That was the idea behind it, but it doesn't work.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
like,
But you know what? As much as it doesn't work, I'm glad to find out that it was an artistic choice that just didn't pan out, and not just bad foresight. Like he was trying to do something. Okay, I actually can give it a not a pass, but I don't hate it as much now. I've got a bit more context.
you understand
But
why it is
but
the way it is.
it's still really bad. Like I
Mm.
have to still criticize it. It's still dreadful, but it's nice to know that it was a choice, an intentional choice made, rather than just absolutely, you know, ignorant, absolute ignorance. So yeah, that's nice to find out, despite it still being shit. Doesn't make it any better. Um, so should we get into the nitty and gritties, the specifics?
Yeah.
So we'll try anyway. So we open up on like a sort of Mad Maxy planet.
1,000 years in the future, by the way, and that's
One
very
thousand.
important for later in the film.
So it's 1,000 years in the future, and humanity has regressed into like basically cavemen again, and they've forgotten sort of all of these societal constructs that we used to have. So things like a putt-putt golf course, they think these are sort of relics from gods and stuff. These statues of like giant golf balls or whatever. They think these are relics of like the old gods or something. Um, which I quite like that. If I'm honest, I kind of like that as an idea. Like I say, some decent ideas, just no good execution in any sense of the word.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually have a note early on that the setup is all right. It's okay. It's good. It's a
mhm.
workable idea, but then it
Yes,
just evolves in. Actually, I think from the moment John Travolta steps on scene,
yeah,
that's when it really
it
starts to go
nosedives.
downhill. Yeah,
Yeah, it nosedives once the what are the creatures called again? The Psylocks or something?
S- Cyclos, I think.
Cyclones. I mean, yeah, the moment they're introduced, the film just does take a bit of a nosedive. Uh, and then we're introduced to our sort of we have this like our main character, and he's like a sort of Legolas caveman Legolas, we'll call him.
That there is a big thing I wanted to mention, and that I don't know why they did this in this film. There's so many parts where there's like action and we don't see the action. Did you
Yeah,
notice this?
I did.
Like
Yeah,
there's one bit, for example, where someone's hand gets shot off. I can't remember who.
Forest
And
Whitaker.
yeah, it's Whitaker's hand. And it's just like you see the shot, just the person shooting, and then the hand is just gone in the next shot.
Well,
And it's like,
yeah,
why did we see the hand disappear?
and this is the thing. It also that it seems that these aliens they don't feel pain because anytime because Travolta gets his arm blown off as well at the end, and
Hmm.
neither of them showed any sign of pain when they lost a limb. And doesn't Forrest Whitaker have his hand back in the last scene?
You know what? Now you mention it, I didn't even really notice that. But by the way, what also like talking about hands and these fucking aliens? What the fuck is going on with their hands? Like
I,
they're just these kind of strange, hairy Scooby Doo hands.
I
Like
like
I don't.
they're like the opposite of hobbits. Instead of being like really small, they're really tall, and instead of hairy feet, they got hairy hands.
Yeah.
So like the
By the
opposite of
way,
hobbits. Because I have put a note here that says that they are trying to do Lord of the Rings type perspective, forced perspective shots, because Travolta and Forrest Whitaker are meant to be like 8 or 9 foot tall or something. So the
but
humans
they're
are
not
much smaller than
consistent
them.
with it. They're
But
not
this is it.
consistent.
They're not consistent. Like I'll put it here. They're trying to do the Lord of the Rings thing, but Lord of the Rings did it infinitely better, where they considered absolutely every fucking camera angle that they were going to use. Whereas this, they were like, "Oh, just film it slightly sideways, and it will look fine."
Yeah. Early on, I thought that was the reason why they used so many Dutch angles. One other thing I noticed about the relationship between the humans and the cyclos
Mm-hmm.
is that there are lots of moments where the people are kind of like ape-like and they start making these ape noises, and it's
Yeah.
only ever really when the cyclos are interacting with them. And like I just thought that was really why like are we trying to
Well,
suggest that they're what are we trying to say here with
I,
this
so
strange monkey?
I think that's more of a because another thing that makes this difficult to follow is like what language are we listening to at any given time, because we know we're listening to the humans speak, but then when we listen to the aliens speak, they are speaking in cyclo, their language, but we are hearing it in English. So there are a couple of moments where the Legolas character, he can speak both languages, so he sort of chops and changes in like the same scene, but we hear it in English in both
We can't
ways. So
say. We can't tell
yeah,
what it's supposed to.
it's a
Yeah.
bit daft the way they've done it. But I think all the sort of grunting, like the sort of primal grunting that they're doing, is meant to be like it's just meant to show the separation between how sort of high level the aliens are meant to be in comparison to man animals, which I like as a replacement word for human. If John Travolta had never called them human, but he does call them human at one point. So I thought it was a waste of time coming up with the term man animal in the script,
Mm.
because, like I say, if you didn't have the word human, then I think it makes perfect sense to call them man animals. But you do have the word human, so why aren't you just calling them humans?
And there's a whole thing about dogs. Do you remember the whole thing about dogs early on
No, I don't
when
remember one about dogs.
So like some guy comes from the Cyclo planet to see Earth, and he's like commenting on how ugly Earth is and everything. But when we actually see Cyclo, it's just like fucking industrial. It looks. I
Yeah.
don't think that was a weird thing to say. And the dogs could have been more cooperative, and they would have trained dogs to have done the manual labor, but they couldn't, and so they used the people instead. It was very weird.
Ah,
And
okay.
yeah, and then there's a whole thing. We find out that Travolta's character Terrell is going to be staying on Earth for 50 more cycles, um, because it suggested that maybe he did something to someone's daughter on
Yeah,
the planet.
I mean, we can assume he banged someone's daughter that was in like a high position in like the
Yeah,
alien council.
and now he's going to stay there forever, which is basically how
Was
what
it the Home
starts the plot.
Office? They
The
call it the
Home
Home
Office.
Office. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
Uh,
kind of like the language they use. They sort of refer to their home planet in very sort of business kind of terms, which I did kind of like that.
yeah. And then, yeah, so what happens next? Basically, Terrell is pissed off because he's going to be stuck on Earth and he wants to leave. So he hatches a plan to train humans to mine because they can't do that. They've never done that before. That's just insane to suggest. Uh, and then to mine gold so
But
they can basically leave Earth
but the
and be
but the
rich.
thing is, we also find out that Travolta knows about the history of man. Like Travolta's character knows how far humans had evolved before his species had invaded them. So why is it that they're so surprised that they can operate machines when they
It's
can
really
see all
silly.
these buildings and cars, like all these relics, we'll say, but like you can see that you can see the ghosts of past industrialization of mankind. So why do you not assume that they can be taught how to operate machinery? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't at all. And there's also that's an even bigger plot hole that we'll get to later on, where they actually I'm going to say it now because I need to because it's so big a problem for me. They left the humans. They left the freaking fighter jets and the nukes and the
Mm.
gold like in Fort Knox apparently, and they just didn't. I don't know why they just left all that shit and the humans then use that to fight back because they can fucking learn how to use a fighter jet in like a fucking couple of days. And by
Well,
the
the
way,
the manual was under the driver's seat.
yeah, and you'll just learn from that. So you can learn to fly a jet in a couple of days. Uh, it's been 1,000 fucking years. How does it
Yeah,
work? How does it work? It's just
yeah.
like there. I'm jumping a lot in the plot. I'm not going to get too much into it. We'll go back, I guess, and mention some shit. But there is one scene where the aliens are coming in their fucking spaceships and then the cave people are
I
in
got wait.
fucking fighter jets and I laugh my ass off at the idea that these guys are just gonna fucking they learned how to fly jets and now they're gonna fucking fight the aliens. It was so dumb. It was
I
really
know,
dumb.
yeah. Do you have any other lines that you liked in this movie? Because I got a fuck ton.
I can't think exactly of a line, but I did really find it quite funny. There was one bit where, so Terrell, Travolta's character, is pissed off at what's happened, and they're in a bar, and they have their space beers, which is this weird green liquid, in some
Yeah.
kind of like thing with a straw, and he's all pissed off, and he's taking all his space beers in his arms and walking away, and like I was wondering, was that supposed to be funny? Because it is kind of funny and kind of stupid.
It's
And I
dumb,
don't
isn't it?
know.
I've got, I have got a note here that says drunk Travolta is a bit shit. And when I say a bit shit, I mean very shit.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
graduated from the top of my class.
Why did he act that way? Oh, I
Yeah, he's
don't know.
so bad. Like, yeah, it's just such a weird performance choice. Every line of
There is
dialogue is just
also
really flamboyant, weird. Like, yeah, it's just strange. It doesn't feel right.
Why did Travolta decide to use that accent? I think it would have been a lot better if he spoke just like in his regular accent. But he's doing some kind of way of speaking that just doesn't seem to fit him, and it just makes him seem really comical. I don't know. Maybe if he just didn't, if he rethought how he was going to play it, maybe he wouldn't have been so stupid. But mind you, they look dumb as shit as well. So like, I don't know. I
But the whole thing's
Travolta.
dumb. The whole thing's dumb as shit. Like the whole gold thing. You kind of like, oh, this is interesting. You could is that this commenting on shades of capitalism, and then you just don't do anything with it, and you're like, you know what? It's just so close to like a decent idea, but it's not there, and somehow it spawned a whole fucking religion.
But there's some other shit, like speaking about the gold in the film. So Kerr, which is Whitaker's character, finds
Yeah.
this opening, like a landslide, and they find that there's gold there, and they can mine it, and it can make them rich. And this is a big thing. This is their plan starts. But how did they not know about Fort Knox with all this gold just sitting there the whole fucking time for 1,000 years?
Well, I mean, they don't read English, and they know that the Earth's, they know that you can mine the gold on Earth. They don't necessarily know how much has already been collected by humanity, I guess.
But
They
I
don't
don't.
know how much gold are in reserve.
I think they could have. They have some technology to like scan the earth and see where their
Well,
gold is to have
well, you
found it under the landslide. So surely they would
you
have
would,
seen this massive pile of gold, like in Fort
yeah,
Knox.
you would think, but because they do have a device that Travolta uses to check how gold the gold is. So they do have that technology, but I do seem to recall something to the effect of that the Fort Knox is like lead lined. So perhaps they're implying that you can't see it through lead. I'm sure they say something to that effect.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Mm.
I'm not saying it's a good explanation, but I do think we're provided one.
And then hold on a minute. Then how does Johnny know about it? Then
How does Johnny know about it? Who's Johnny? John Travolta?
no, Johnny's our main character,
No, I don't know his name. Call him Legolas.
Legolas.
I didn't write anyone's name down. I'm calling John Travolta Travolta. In my notes, Travolta's Travolta, Forest is Forest, and this Johnny guy is Legolas. I don't know their actual character names.
You didn't
Uh,
care enough to remember.
no, I absolutely not. Nor was I paying enough attention. Go on. So, what were you going to say about Legolas?
How does he know where there's gold in Fort
Well,
Knox?
so so the what thingamabob, Travolta, he starts beaming, he starts like matrix downloading shit into Legolas's brain, and he's learning the Psylocke language, and he's starting to teach himself stuff like mathematics, and he says like this is like a universal language. It's the same language all over the world, all over the galaxy. He starts talking about equilateral triangles, like they're something like it. Honestly, though, he's talking about it like he's just discovered the best fucking thing ever, and like they all look at him, and he's like, because if these three sides are equal, then this will be equal to. And they're like, equal to what? And they're like, equal to each other, and they just look at him like, this seems real complicated. And I'm like, they're
Yeah.
equilateral triangles. We're talking about equilateral triangles. We're not talking like, string theory or space travel. We're talking equilateral triangles. Like, why? I thought that the equilateral triangle thing might pop up again. Maybe it was going to be foreshadowing something. No, it was just to show that he's clever now. So the way we're going to show he's clever is show like fucking fifth grade maths. It's dumb.
Yeah,
It's that.
it's
I'm
like
sure you learned that before fifth grade, actually. So yeah, it's just dumb. You,
yeah.
that's a stone throw away of him going, like you just cut to him in the prison, and he's just going, and so E equals MC squared, and everyone's like, oh, we get it now. Do you know what I mean?
And they can fly jets.
Yeah,
Yay! Like
exactly.
one. Yesterday you're learning
But
about equilateral triangles. Today you're learning how to fly a
but,
jet. Like,
but you know what? I suppose they're doing like I suppose they are trying to do a Planet of the Apes thing with it. You know, they're trying to show how we sort of relearned um, all this. I mean, you know, I tell you what I think could have worked, right? Because obviously, I thought in Scientology all of this shit was meant to have happened like thousands of years ago. Hence, why the Egyptians were able to be an advanced civilization. Blah blah blah. So I actually think this film would have been a lot more interesting if they hadn't bothered making it 1,000 years in the future, but they'd actually done it like 1,000 or 2,000 years in the past, and this is like an alternate past, and we're or not even an alternate past, but you could suggest this is our real world past, like Scientology does, and but it's a forgotten past, and I think that would have been a lot more interesting than setting it 1,000 years in the future, and you do the sort of Planet of the Apes thing with it.
yeah, I agree. I think that could have worked a bit better.
I mean, not to say
But
like you polish a turd, it's still a turd. Do you know what I mean?
indeed, indeed. Oh, this film really
I
is such a
know.
mess.
I
But
can't help but point out though that Legolas's hair is still immaculate even when he crawls through the sewer.
yeah, that by the way, that actor, have you seen him in other stuff? He looks really like familiar to
Only,
me, but
only, only in my dreams.
he
He's very
has a
dreamy.
very he has a very pronounced brow. Like it looks like
He
he's
would have
always
been.
frowning.
I actually think he would have been a better Legolas for Lord of the Rings than Orlando Bloom. Personally,
Yeah,
I don't really
Orlando
like
Bloom.
Orlando Bloom in Lord of the Rings. I much prefer Orlando Bloom in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. I don't really love him as Legolas. I think this guy would have been a better one.
Yeah, good point. So I do know apparently the book, the time that it takes for the humans to prepare to fight back is a lot longer. So it's supposed to take
Yeah,
them like a year of learning and preparing, but instead the
it
film
does
kind of
feel.
suggests that it happens within a couple of days or something.
Yeah, it does feel very very rushed, that whole part. Because I feel like it takes. It really feels like it must be about 3 days of movie time between Travolta allowing them to have a look at like the history of the Earth, like since they got invaded, and till now. That really felt like it was only like a couple. Till the end. Sorry, feels like only a couple of days. And realistically, they've taught themselves how to fly planes, and they've mobilized to have a full-on revolt against the alien aggressors. It just feels like they needed more time to do all this stuff. But they do, I'm pretty sure, while he's looking around the library, he finds the Declaration of Independence. And it's
Yeah,
sort of
he does.
so you get this sort of sense of like America's, America are gonna beat you guys. Fuck you. I hated that they even found some patriotism to throw in for good measure. And you know what we're like. We can't do. I hate patriotism in movies at the best of times. It just feels like propaganda.
Yeah,
Um,
it's too
but
stupid.
but could you not call this like John Travolta's propaganda project to make the whole world Scientologists?
Well, the film isn't like we said earlier, overtly Scientologist.
No.
Uh, he
But
was
then again,
warned.
it is as well.
Yeah, it's based on the guy who
Yeah.
made this religion.
Mm.
There was one, to quote Rick and Morty's most recent season. Rick refers to Scientology as space Mormons, which I found quite funny.
Space
Uh,
Mormons. Love it.
yeah. Uh,
Well, the
like
thing is, like I say, you watch this film, you cannot blame Scientology for being a boring religion. You can't accuse them for that.
Yeah, apparently the Scientologists really wanted to make it a big blockbuster, and they were giving other Scientologists money to go and watch it. Uh, it didn't catch on. It didn't catch on. Apparently, even Tom Cruise, another Scientologists told John Travolta, "Don't do this. Don't make this film. It's not going to be good."
Really?
And yeah, but Travolta claims that he showed it to Quentin Tarantino and he liked it. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? Quentin Tarantino, he might just be being a good friend.
Yeah, I think he was like, yeah, it was great. Yeah, he's just being a good mate
S-
there,
Since
basically.
you brought up Quentin and Travolta for a second, can I just throw in some hot trivia?
Go on.
Uh, I heard apparently Tarantino's last film, it might have Travolta come back, so he
Ooh.
might be using Travolta again for his last movie. And we know Tarantino can get an amazing performance out of Travolta, so I actually don't mind that at all. But
I'll look forward
just
to
throwing
that.
that in. Yeah, just throwing that in. I'm not actually sure if it's been confirmed, but I saw something online. So I hope that's true. That'd be kind of fun. Uh, did you find the sexy alien sexy at all? The one with the giant tongue?
No, it
No, I
didn't
didn't.
do anything
No,
for me.
no, not even the tongue.
Not even the tongue.
No, no, no. All right, I won't share this note then. Let's move on. So
Okay. If you, yeah, I did find her sexy. Yeah.
yeah, me too, man. Yeah, me too. Yeah, very hot, very hot.
Yeah. Oh.
Especially the tongue. Uh, then Travolta blackmails this guy to have like control over Earth, essentially. Uh, how does he blackmail him though? He blackmails him somehow. Oh yeah, he catches him like embezzling gold, essentially hiding gold.
Yeah, and he makes a video to suggest that the idea is his and not
Mm.
the idea of mining the gold is Whitaker's idea, not Travolta's,
But
that he uses to blackmail him.
I've got to point out something though. If your plan is to make the humans intelligent enough to teach them how to mine, you are over teaching them. Like, surely you need to keep them compliant as well. And this guy, you've taught him your whole alien fucking language and like the fucking history of your planet and all this bollocks. And it's like, yeah, I don't understand that. Like, why are you giving this guy so much? You just need them to be smart enough to mine, but surely dumb enough to still remain compliant. Or not
I think
necessarily
that's
dumb, just not articulate enough to be able to argue or whatever.
I think that's part of the Scientology aspect. This kind of like suggestion that our like our intelligence doesn't come from us. Was like by
Yeah,
a greater power
a
from
gift.
from another part of the universe.
Mm.
Alone, we're not we're very simple. I
Are
don't know.
you
I think that's.
able? Are you able to jump on the computer and find out what the budget was for this movie?
Oh, I already have
Because you
that
mentioned
info.
that they got a lot of they already got a lot of funding from Scientologists who believe in all this shit. I'd love to know how much money they spent because I think it's obvious they spent a lot, but at the same time, it's hard to see it. But if you look for it, you can see the money there. But
They
the set
this the
designs, they're not simple. They're not simple sets at all, and the costumes are pretty intricate. I bet it cost a pretty penny to make this movie, but it looks
for
cheap.
44 million was the budget, and they made
$44 million.
29.7.
That's actually a cheap movie. So they lost
Well,
basically half of their budget, essentially.
yeah, there might have been some discrepancies over the money that was made because of the fraud shit that happened with
Right.
the company that raised the money. So
Hmm.
it might have been a bit bigger. I don't know, but yeah, that is
$44 million. If you gave me $44 million, I'd make you 10 movies better than this.
yeah.
I'd make you 44 movies better than this.
Yeah, it just makes it more impressively terrible because out of the other two films we've watched,
Mm.
they're very low budget, And this
Yeah.
film is a massive budget blockbuster kind of attempt, and it fucking is shit, and a lot of money
It's
was lost.
terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
just
just
makes it more
unwatchable.
impressively bad. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely not watch this one again. I really didn't like it.
yeah.
Also, I've got to ask you this then. So they don't remember any of their ancestors. You know, they don't remember a time of human society. So therefore, in this Mad Max future, we can assume that they've been living off like fucking rat meat, you know, and like cooking it on a bonfire or whatever, right? They're all primal now. They're cavemen people now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why the fuck do they have the expression piece of cake? Like, no,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a load of rubbish. Don't believe it for a second. Makes absolutely no sense. Because like this is the thing. If you look at a plane and you're like, they're flying spears, how you don't know what a cake is. There's no way I will accept that you know what a cake is, but you don't know what a plane is. Or a fighter jet, whatever. But there's no way. Fuck off.
And you know what else as well? That we jumped over a big part of the plot, which is really dumb, where they're
Did
trying to
we?
find leverage over the humans by finding out what their
Right.
favorite food is. We're gonna let them loose and find out their favorite food, and they eat a rat, and he's trying to trying to encourage him to do shit uh, by giving him his favorite food, which they think is rats, because they found a rat while they were like alone in the kind of urban wilderness environment that they threw them in. And I think there's one bit where Travolta tries to squeeze a rat into his mouth.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Well, that's why he calls him
Yeah,
Rat Brain, right?
I guess so. I forgot the line that he actually says, but something about eating your favorite food. It was very stupid, the whole idea that we'll bribe them with food. Yeah.
Well, I suppose they're trying to like train them, aren't they? They're trying to train them like you would a dog with treats, but they don't
Yeah.
know. They assume that humans eat rats. Obviously, they don't, or they wouldn't by choice. Um, because like the film sort of ramps up in sort of pace, where we fly to Washington D.C. They steal gold from Fort Knox. They give it to John Travolta, who for some reason doesn't see it as enough of a red flag that they've already been smelted into gold bars rather than just gold ore. Um, and he does specify, he does mention, "Oh, you've had enough time to turn them into gold bars. Then I will make it 7 days for you to deliver the shipment." But it's like, have you not bothered to ask them, how did you smelt this into gold bars? Why is this? You've pointed it out enough that it's a strange thing. Why hasn't it been enough of a red flag for you to think that they're up to something? Or at least
Completely.
enough, raise enough suspicion that you start like you should be investigating. How did you find this like so perfectly in bars, or how did you smelt this down? Like, I didn't think you could use machines a second ago. Now you're giving me perfectly smelted gold. Like, it just doesn't, like, there's no connection between one scene to the other. It's fucking terrible. John Travolta, why did you do this, mate? I like you. I'm a fan. You're an idiot for this one.
It always amazes me how, like, did anybody on set, did Travolta ever get a sense that maybe things weren't that great? The script wasn't that good. The things didn't look that okay. Like, someone must have had a sense of this while it was
No,
happening.
you know what? I think Travolta really liked it because I reckon Travolta liked it so much that he ran his copy to Tarantino, and he's like, "Oh, check this out because I know you like sci-fi. Check this out. It's my Star Wars." And I reckon Tarantino would just being nice to him. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's really good, mate. Really good. Well done. I really like it." And then he's just trying to be nice to get John Travolta to leave his house. And then when John Travolta leaves, he turns to his girlfriend. He's like, oh God, this guy, I put him in one movie and he won't fucking leave me alone. Now he's making me watch these shitty movies that he's in. Yeah, I reckon Tarantino just being nice.
Yeah, I think so too. It's the only
Or,
possibility.
no, or John Travolta's just lying about it. One or the other. One or the other.
That's also possible, yeah.
But to be fair, we know that Tarantino does also appreciate like shitty movies. Like he's referenced them enough times in his own films. We know he does have an appreciation for like this sort of like low budget B movie kind of style. But this isn't a B movie. This is a fucking Hollywood proper massive budget. You know, you can't call this a B movie, but there is something about it. All the Dutch angles, all the bad dialogue, it does feel like a B movie. All the hammy performances, yeah, it feels like a B movie to me, even though it would easily be the most expensive B movie ever made.
That's the great title for this film, the most expensive B movie.
Mm,
It's a failed attempt at a franchise. Yeah.
yeah, and boy, does it fail. Boy, did it fail. Terrible. Um, so yeah, the humans ambush the aliens. This is like the climax, the sort of last 10-15 minutes. Ambush the aliens. They try and blow up the big dome thing that they're in. But I do have a note here. You do have to love cavemen in fighter jets. That I did kind of like.
That
There was something about that I was like, you know what? I do kind of like that. I do kind of like that. But in a bad way though, and like it's not good, but it's fun. That was fun. I thought cavemen in fighter jets.
it was the most stupidest part of the film. It really made me laugh out loud when I saw
Yeah,
that. It was
yeah.
so
I
dumb.
laughed my ass off. I laughed my ass off. Then Travolta and Legolas have their showdown. The bombs go off. We get one guy who sacrifices himself to proper break the dome, which was quite a nice moment. Amidst all the shit,
Ah,
yeah, and then
but
he
there was
goes,
this.
he says "piece of cake" just before he does it as well. Ugh.
Yes, he blows up the dome, but we have another character who teleports himself to the
Yes,
Cyclo's planet. He sets off one nuke and
one
it
nuke.
blows up the whole fucking planet for some
Yeah,
reason.
can we assume that the planet might be smaller than Earth?
Could be, but one nuke to
Yeah,
destroy
I
the
know.
whole
What
planet?
one nuke for a whole planet? It just doesn't make sense. No, you're quite right. But
And the
yeah,
nuke
but
still
he
works
does. He
after a
does.
thousand years.
So you get, yeah, exactly. All this technology working after 1,000 years of being left to, rust and get, manky. So yeah, makes no sense either which way. But that's two people, two characters sacrificed themselves for the humans to get away, and Travolta gives the order to kill all the humans, like without prejudice, just kill everyone. Um, all the action was shit because, like I said earlier, the laser balls don't feel like they have any weight in the scene, and we find out that Travolta's going to gas drone the entire planet, and Legolas makes the final stand, and he blows off Travolta's arm.
Yeah, how did he not know? Like, so he uses this kind of like neck explosive thing, doesn't he? That
Yeah.
was on his girlfriend. How did
Mm.
Travolta's character just not notice this fucking thing being clamped around his arm?
I
And
don't
then, as
know.
you said earlier, his arm blows off, but he just doesn't feel the pain. Like he
Yeah, he
realizes his arm is
responds.
gone, but
Yeah, but he doesn't respond to it like with pain. No pain receptors. Um,
yeah,
so then the Earth is saved because you've killed all the aliens. Travolta's locked up in Fort Knox. Forrest Whitaker showed up and he's allied with the humans. Legolas gets the girl, and that's it. That's the whole movie. They've left it open for a sequel, but that's the whole movie, and I'm glad I'm done with it. Shit, terrible.
yeah, it was painful this month. It's been painful to watch these films, except Troll 2. Troll 2 I liked, but
Troll 2 I
this
loved, but this one, uh, you know what though? Did you like? I think I like this more than Plan 9 though. I think I like
maybe.
Plan 9 less.
But do you think that Battlefield Earth classes as so bad it's good, or is it just bad?
I can see why people would laugh at this movie for sure. I can see why this is a so bad it's good movie, but for me, it's too bad to be good. And the same can be said for Plan 9 from Outer Space. For me, it's just too bad to enjoy. Whereas Troll 2, it was so bad, it was brilliant. Like, I loved Troll 2. I had an absolute blast. Um, but these other ones, for me, they're just not good enough. They don't quite get my love because yeah there's yeah maybe they take themselves too seriously, but yeah I can't find I feel bad for them. If anything, I feel sorry for these movies. Like, I'm embarrassed for them.
Yeah, it's like an ugly baby.
Yeah, like an ugly baby. But but Troll 2, I'm not embarrassed for that movie. I like that. I think that one, I wouldn't change it. I think that one's great.
Yeah.
Should we give it a rating then? Battlefield Earth.
What's our rating? What's our rating system for this one?
I'd say I'll give it 10 out of 14 John Travolta laughing emojis, because it is like a really overacted movie. If you're looking for like a movie with actors in it that don't actually have an excuse to be this bad at acting, but they are really giving you a super hammy performance. Yeah, okay, I'll give it a 10 out of 14. But IMDb, I'm giving this one a
Hmm.
3.
Oh, I think you're even generous there. Let me see, because I think I looked and it was lower than that.
You think I'm generous with a 3?
Yeah, I think you
Maybe a
actually
2.
are. Hold on. Battlefield Earth.
I bet on IMDb it's 5.5. That's my guess.
No, it's
What is it?
2.5.
2.5 on IMDb.
And
Well,
you're
I
going to give
said
it a
3.
3.
I said 3. What were you going to say? 2?
I don't know. I already knew beforehand. I saw earlier, so I can't really say I have an unbiased, an
But if you, but I'll just say
influenced
it.
opinion.
But if you were going to say 2 and I say 3, then right bang in the middle, we got it right. 2.5.
Yeah, you are
Well,
right.
it is really bad. I
It's
hated it.
rate. This is the lowest rated film we've watched, by the way.
This is the
Uh,
lowest rated Film Shrapnel podcast.
yeah.
The
By the
lowest
way,
rated movie we've ever
I
done.
just realized the runtime was 1 hour and 57 minutes. It was
Yeah, it's a
way too
2 hour
fucking
movie.
long.
It's a
Way
two
too
hour.
fucking long.
But I'll tell you this though, it didn't drag for me as much as Plan 9 did. I do think
Yeah, maybe.
I because the funny thing is, all the movies we've done this month, Plan 9 is the highest rated on IMDb, and for me, it's easily the worst one.
Yeah, it's
So
very
yeah.
clumsy.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening to us. I'm so glad that we're done with Battlefield Earth and shit movie month. We are Film Shrapnel. Go check us out on the app formerly known as Twitter, at Film Shrapnel, capital F, capital S. That's where you can follow us and get up to date with all the stuff coming up. Craig, do you want to say anything to the lovely listeners?
Stay tuned for Christmas season, I guess,
Yeah,
for December.
Christmas season is coming. We've got a plethora of stuff coming. We're sort of going to do like an advent calendar of content. So every day leading up to Christmas, you will have some kind of Film Shrapnel content. It might be only a little clip, or it might be a full episode, but you'll get something every day leading up to Christmas, and then we'll take a little break before New Year's. But yeah, so coming up, I think you can look forward to Christmas Who Wants to Be a Pretentious Film Critic, where we'll do Christmas films exclusively. That'll be fun.
I'm gonna get destroyed.
Oh yes, because you've beaten me 2 times in a row now, Craig. It's now my time to bring it back to you. I've got to win one next.
Yeah.
Until next time, everybody. I graduated at the top of my class. I'll be damned. So fucking terrible dialogue.
It's
Fucking
really
Travolta.
terrible. Really
Bye,
terrible.
guys.
Bye.
Shrapnel!